Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Trust and Believe. I'm your host, Shaun T. I'm so excited for today's podcast because sometimes in life you have to call a friend, kind of like that TV show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and you have to phone a friend. So a couple months ago, I was going through something. I just needed some motivation and inspiration. So I called my friend Lewis Howes, who a lot of you may know. I actually spoke at his Summit of Greatness. We became good friends, and he's just a really great person. And one of the cool things about this podcast is that we went into it just talking as friends, and the conversation just went where it went naturally, which is what I actually love about doing some of these type of podcasts, because I think a lot of people look at either podcast hosts or celebrities, and they think, oh, they have it all together. And sometimes we just need to phone a friend. In addition to that, I'll talk a little bit about how Lewis Howes actually has inspired me in my business a couple years ago, and how I use some of the tools to enhance my business and ultimately enhance my life. So sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy this really cool conversation with a really great guy. If you don't know Lewis Howes, make sure, number one, you listen to the podcast, and number two, go follow him on social. He always has some really amazing and inspiring things to say to help you dig deeper in your life and trust and believe in who you are.
Somebody say hell yeah!
What's up? He's better than Oprah. Come on, y'all.
This is Shaun T, and it's time to trust and believe.
What's up, brother?
Lewis, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing good, man.
I know I miss you too. It's been so crazy, man. Not just what's happening in the world right now, but just crazy in the fact that our schedules are just maddening.
Crazy, man. Lots going on.
So how are you? Just like generally, how are you doing?
I feel under the circumstances of after being in a long distance relationship for almost a year, and my girlfriend moving in on Christmas Day, one of my heroes passing away, Kobe Bryant, who I interviewed, to coronavirus, to now just everything that's happening in America, and all the pain that people feel. I feel actually pretty good under that context. It's been a lot of moving in with someone for me. I didn't realize would be so much learning and communication, and just changing schedules and just changing your routine. Then changing routine with coronavirus. We're hiring people, letting people go. So in the context of it all, I feel pretty good. And I think it's because I've been preparing myself for moments like this my entire life.
Well, I think just adjusting your life in general, just daily adjustments. I mean, from the moment you wake up in the morning to the time you go to bed every single day. I mean, just think about the conversations we've had just as friends. Every single time we have a conversation, it's a different conversation. And so
right.
If you think about it, I tell people a lot of times, one of my best superpowers and my favorite superpower that I have is the ability to be flexible. Mm-hmm. Because when I was younger, I was so impatient, just from everything. I mean, you went through a lot in your life as a younger person too. So everything just kind of caused angst. And so just building that superpower of being patient and flexible.
Yeah, I can only imagine being a dad with 2 kids right now and just running the business and everything you're doing. So.
Well, I don't think it's any different than moving in with someone. I mean, think about it. As much, I love my kids. You love your girlfriend, but It's still an adjustment. You still have to, take on somebody's early morning routine, their midday routine, their afternoon routine, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But anyway.
How you feeling, man? You feeling good?
I have zero complaints. I mean, obviously what's happening in the world right now is very heavy. I've had some really amazing conversations. Every conversation I've had with people in terms of either the pandemic or Black Lives Matter, and people who are actually, I would say, on the other side of the aisle, I literally hate dividing us as people because of a political status that we hold. However, I think that's the issue. And friends that I had that are Republican, because, you know, I vote Democrat. I wish there was another party I could create.
Right.
But, you know, we've just had really amazing conversations. People who came into the conversation not understanding what's happening in the world. They don't understand Black lives matter, why. And us just kind of coming together and understanding where the other person is coming from, and then finding a place in the middle where we can understand how we got to the way we think.
Yeah, I think I saw a post of yours on Instagram about having really hard, challenging conversations with, I don't know if it was your
family,
your family, or your father-in-law, or was it your family?
My entire family, yeah.
Really?
I mean, what's that?
Your immediate family or your married family?
My married family.
Yeah, exactly.
My married family. My immediate family would be, you know, here's the reality. The reality is, speaking to Black people that grew up in my neighborhood or that raised me is a completely different conversation than.
Yeah. And
my family is not racist. They're not bigots. They're not judgmental against anyone. It is, but it's
your married family.
My married family.
Your white family.
My white family.
Just so people are clear. Yeah.
Yes, I'm married to a white man. So
they're not. So they're not racist. They're none of those things. But I saw a post of you crying because there was some very challenging conversation.
Well, the issue is when you go into a conversation about what's happening in the world, because what's happening in the world releases so many different emotions. You, i.e. me, I go into a conversation already on defense.
But if you don't understand where I'm coming from, then I'm going to be defensive. If you have any type of resistance, then you don't get me.
And the resistance had nothing to do with Black Lives Matter. The resistance was everything of, I'm trying to understand. And for me, I'm like, well, you should already understand, you know, because I feel this way. So you should feel this way already.
Oh, interesting.
You know, and that is what is happening around the country. You know, one of my friends or someone posted, they said, you know, it's not our job to help people understand. And I'm like, yes, it is our job. It's 100% our job, because if they came from a completely different place, they're not going
to go research these other things in life that don't potentially concern them or that aren't affecting them directly in that moment. But I'm hearing so many different perspectives of people saying it is white people's responsibility to not ask to be taught, but to go learn and educate themselves and listen. And so I appreciate your perspective. I think everyone's got different perspectives, because I think as white people, it's like this very walk on eggshells of, what do I say? Do I ask for you to teach me? Do I go spend hours reading every book and watching every movie and educate myself because I should have done this decades ago? And so that's the conversation that I'm hearing from people.
But the thing is, but that's like telling someone you shouldn't go protest. So if we don't want people to know, then why are we protesting? We should just sit in the house and be quiet.
Right.
By you protesting and you going out into the streets and creating these, you know, mass crowds of
attention to an idea. Yeah.
People are learning by that. So you're saying, so when my friend calls up, my white friend who is a Republican, when he calls me up and says, I don't understand what's going on, can you help me out? I should be like, no, you need to go do your research.
But why then are some people offended by white people reaching out to their Black friends and saying, hey, can you help me on this so I can understand better?
I personally feel like it's very similar to what I went through with my white family, my married family. You should already understand.
Got you.
And so I already carry the anger of you not understanding. And I already entered the conversation pissed the fuck off. You know, like I already entered the conversation that way. So if I enter the conversation already mad, then there's no way I can really open my mind until later. So I actually went out into the field and I was just like, I need to. And then I went back in, my father-in-law hugged me, and then it was just like, you know, then it just becomes more like of an open conversation. I become more open, you know, and it even extended into the next day when I was driving and and we took a breath stop and it was just like a calm space. And you have to understand, when you're in this place of anger or misunderstanding or being misunderstood, the hardest thing is to come out of that and go to the other side and be
so
like,
hard.
And so I said to my mother-in-law, I was like, thank you. Like, you were the only person who I felt understood what I was going through yesterday. And just to tell someone that was really tough. And I think that people need to understand on both sides. A white person needs to go to a black person and be like, I know this is going to be tough for you to do, but I really need your help. Instead of saying, like, help me understand. And the black person needs to say, this is really tough for me to do because I feel like this is something you should already know because it's just being a good human, but this is how we get through this.
Yeah, I mean, I understand both sides. And I can only imagine also as a gay man, I don't know if you had similar conversations when you, I guess, came out or came open about being gay to your friends. Did you expect other people to understand what it's like being gay? Or did you not like come of a defensiveness where you should just understand what it's like, It was kind of different in each conversation. So when you're gay, the world is against you, right? So there is no... And black people, white people, brown people, it doesn't matter. Everyone.
I mean, a friend of mine posted something yesterday about, he was holding his boyfriend's hand and they posted a photo at a protest and black people were like, you can't, Black lives matter, gay lives don't matter. No. And it was like, you effing, gay slurs. Wow. And so I've said this before, but I wake up as a black man in America, a gay black man who's married in an interracial relationship, having 2 kids that look different races via surrogacy. Like, I'm already, but I'm, me, I'm here for it. So I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck you want me to do. But it's a process to kind of get through that each and every day. But this particular situation, well, let me go back to being gay first. Mm-hmm. When you're gay, you're hiding something. I can't hide the fact that I'm black, right? The thing that and then as a young gay person, you haven't really experienced what it's like to be gay. You haven't been around other gay people. Mm-hmm. So now you feel even more alone because you're in this place of... By yourself, yeah. I'm completely by myself. I haven't experienced, I have no one to talk to. Whereas when I speak, I can talk to other black males at this age, at 42, and black females, and we all have a similar experience. So I feel like this situation, I'm going into it with an army, where the other situation, I didn't have that army. It was just you alone. Yeah, interesting. But did you expect other people to understand what it feels like to be gay, like the challenges you were going through, or the struggle, or was that not a defensiveness that you came from at that point in your life? No, I never expected anyone to feel like what it was like to be gay. Like you need to, or like you should be educating yourself on this and you should understand this. No, because I went into it, and here's a little like comedic interlude. I went into it like, while I've had sex with women, I don't feel like doing that every day. So I know you don't feel like having sex with a man if you're not right. Or if you're... You understood, yeah. I'm like, I already know you don't get this. Right. But I did have the defense mechanism of, you should accept me for who I am. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Because you're my family. Because they were the first people I came out to. My mom was mad cool. My grandfather, who was a pastor, he loves everyone, but he definitely was like, we need to have a conversation about this relationship you're having with this boy. And I'm like, I didn't even come out to you. Like, how the hell you know? You know what I mean? Wow. So that's tough. Interesting. So how do you feel like we can, white people and black people can do a better job of communicating with each other without being defensive? Or is it just there's going to be upset, there's going to be anger, and do our best to both learn and listen and grow together? I just don't feel like... I feel like people are so stuck in their ways, and they're so afraid to be uncomfortable. And I thrive in uncomfortability. Yeah. Yeah. So for me, it's get uncomfortable. If I know I'm going into a really intense, tough debate, I am like, let's go. Not because I want to fight, but because I know I'm going to learn something. People don't want to learn something new because they're afraid of what they're going to lose, right? So if a white person has walked out of their house every day, they felt extremely comfortable. They don't even know what white privilege is, but I like to say you're even if you don't know what white privilege is, you're a beneficiary of it, right? You drive down the street, you can walk through any other white neighborhood or black neighborhood. Like you're like, cool, like I'm living my life. But the minute we say, all right, I want to help you understand what it's like to be black. Number one, you have to acknowledge it. And a lot of people don't want to acknowledge it because maybe in their household they've heard, the latter and why it's not great or whatever. Well, black people are not great. And then the second thing is, I think a lot of people are afraid that they're going to lose power. Because if this race comes in and everybody loves them, now we don't need, affirmative action anymore. Like I know because I'm a white guy with blonde hair, blue eyes, or, a strapping young fella like you. Like I know, I'm tall, I'm this, like I'm white, like I'm the man. But see, and people don't want to lose that. They don't want to lose that privilege. But they don't a lot of times know that they have that privilege. They don't get it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't.
But I take somebody like you, like when we hang out, obviously I know you're white. I'm a black man. But you ain't thinking like, I'm with a black man and I'm walking into this building and people are going to be like, we walk in there being like, we know we look good, you know what I'm saying? Like we do more fun, just silly things, But what you're not understanding when we walk into that building is, I'm like, okay, do they think like when we hung out at the Soho House? Obviously we have to show our card to make sure we're a member of the Soho House, but I'll walk in there and I'm like, well, obviously I'm Shaun T, so I know some people will know me, but I think, and this is going to be really crazy, you walk up in there like, oh, I'm at the Soho House, like this is the hot spot. I walk in the Soho House like, hey, this is the hot spot. I wonder if these servers are going to think that I belong here. Really? Or like, how did he get in here? Or like, did he get in here because he's with that white guy? Not because
no way.
100%.
That's what you think?
Yeah.
Wow.
But the thing is, like, people don't understand that we think that this is in the minds of.
So when we're hanging out, it's just a subconscious thing you're thinking of quickly. It's kind of just going in. Okay, then you go back to conversation. On rotation. Wow. When I get up to go to the bathroom, and people are like, you are like, what? And I said this in a previous podcast, but it's when we leave the house as young black children in black neighborhoods, and we go into mixed schools, or we go in white neighborhoods, or go to a white person's house. Like our parents are like, make sure you act right. Not like behave, not like behave so you don't get in trouble. It's like, don't go in there and act black. And that's what people don't get. Like we had this like ingrained in our soul, and it's because of what our parents went through, what their parents went through, and the stories that are passed down. Yeah. Well, it's funny. I called a friend of mine a black friend of mine that I played arena football with in Alabama, that I lived with for 6 months. He was a receiver with me, a good buddy of mine that we stayed in touch for, I guess, 15 years now. And the nicest guy. And I called him, after a couple weeks ago, after all this started happening. I go, hey man, just want to check in. Does this happen to you a lot, this type of harassment? And he said, I just moved into a more white neighborhood in an area of Dallas, like in a suburb of Dallas. And he said, I've been pulled over 4 times in the last 7 months. And I was like, for what? And he goes, I laugh because it shocks me, but it's not okay. He said, for driving black. And I go, what? I go, are you serious? For driving as a black man, you got pulled over. He goes, yeah. I go, come on, tell me you did something. Like you were swerving, you were this. Like, he goes, no. I'm like, turning signal, I'm pulling over, I'm doing all the things. And they arrested me one time and put me in jail overnight. And I go, what? And he, I was just like, this is crazy. And I never have to experience that type of uncertainty or fear or, am I going to get pulled over? I might have other challenges or other fears or other insecurities or other things that I have to go through, but I don't have to go through that. And I think
Right.
that's where the challenge comes from of, as a white guy, I never had to fear for those things or go into a place and think about those things. Again, I might have other inner insecurities of, are they going to make fun of me or this, but it's not the same thing as, are they going to label me as something and be racist against me because of the color of my skin. And that's why I think we need to all understand and hear stories like that from people like you or my friend, where it's like, no, this happens all the time.
Yeah, and I've told this story before, but I actually want to tell it to you because you had that experience with your friend. So when I made that initial post about driving across country or driving through a country and having all these fears, the next morning Scott got a text message, or later that day Scott got a text message from a friend of his that he plays soccer with, and he said, tell Shaun, I really feel him. I feel his post, because before he drove from Vegas to Florida, he was moving. His mom was like, I need to go with you. I need to go with you. And because of that very reason, she's like, be careful. Make sure you drive the speed limit.
Wow.
Don't, it's so wild. But, I think that if everyone can kind of go into the conversation like you, as someone of the white community, and just not be afraid to ask questions, tough questions, to know they understand. And if Black people can just say, no, like, this is what it is, and not go into it in a combative stance like I did.
Yeah. I think it's, the responsibility for all people to educate themselves. This is obviously a big issue that's been around for a long time. And I think, if you're a white person and someone is defensive, don't allow it to stop you from asking questions. Don't allow it to be like, okay, like they're canceling me as a human being, and now I'm going to go back into my hole and not, and get defensive back. Like, keep asking questions, find other people, keep researching, because I think you're going to get it wrong. You're going to make a mistake. You're going to say the wrong thing. I probably said something wrong already in this interview, and I think
you didn't.
Well, it's like, you never know.
Free space here.
But someone listening might have been saying, "Oh, that was the wrong word to use," or "You shouldn't have used it that way," or "Shouldn't have." Who knows?
Right.
Someone's got their perspective, and I think the goal is to continue to educate and continue to come from a place of love and apologize when you make a mistake, and just keep showing up. So I think that's what white people can do, is keep showing up.
Yeah. I'll leave that right there. So I want to pivot, though.
Sure.
I want to say thank you, because there was, I think I don't know if it was the last time we hung out. We went to that diner. We had
a hotel or something, or was it a diner?
I don't know. It was a diner. Yeah. I don't know. But, you really helped me. Just kind of like, at that point was I would say the starting of where I wanted to go with my business, and how I wanted to thrive in my business, and how to really combine all of the things that I'm doing. And, you took the time out to just genuinely and authentically be like, hey, this is what you do. This is what I see. This is how I feel. And I just want to say thank you, because it paid off like so much.
Really? That's good to hear.
Yeah. And it took me a long time to implement those things, because I'm the kind of person where I have to have anything I do in my life is like a dance move. Mm-hmm. So I need the first step, I need the second step, I need the third step, I need the fourth step, I need the fifth step, sixth step, 7, and 8. Right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I need the step-by-step process, and I need to make sure that the lines are clean and this and that. So, but where the dynamic shift really happened was during the pandemic, to be quite honest with you. And, we hung out a while ago, but,
what was the shift you made?
So in the beginning of the year, instead of having a New Year's resolution, I challenged everyone to come up with a word for the year. And that word is how you focus on your goals. That word is how you focus on the people you're around. That word is how you focus on yourself. And my word was time. And so I always said from the beginning of the year, I was like, am I maximizing my time? Am I maximizing my relationships? Am I maximizing the energy in my job? Am I maximizing my finances? And so when the pandemic happened, it really all came to a head because I had no choice, number one, but number two, it really created tunnel vision, which I normally don't have. I'm a very creative person. So it really helped me inspire my team, and my team stepped up, and, we just have generated so much greatness from, just some of those tips that you gave me. And Shalene Johnson,
she's great.
Really helped. But you two just kind of seeing what you do and like taking your energy and taking the things we talk about and how you guys have motivated me, and specifically you in this conversation, has really helped. And the reason why I want to say that is because a lot of people look at Shaun T and they look at the successful Shaun T, whatever they think, but we all need somebody, and in this case, that somebody was you. And I think at the time, while I always appreciate it from the core of who I am, you never know how much somebody is going to impact your life until you open up your mind, open up your eyes, listen, and then take action.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate you taking the time and listening, and hopefully I was able to give some good feedback. So you
were. And then, so I wanted to say that, but then you had this dynamic shift that happened in your life, and, watching that, I'm going to use the word unfold on social media and the craziness of it. I was like, what is happening? Not in terms of what is happening, like blaming or taking sides or this, that, and the third. I'm like, what's happening? And then I immediately switched my what is happening to saying, well, this is a man I actually look up to. So I want to see how he's going to navigate his way to continue to be a person of service, which you are, and just maximize the process by living in it with love, which you do. So and I've listened to podcasts that you were on. I've listened to a lot of the ways you talked about it, but I just want to know if there was one thing that you did over the course of the biggest change. Like, what is that one superpower that you've used to help bring yourself to the present day?
This is really interesting because I remember thinking to myself for years, like my audience is growing pretty big. Like, it's growing every, week, month, everything's growing a lot. And I haven't faced a lot of adversity, like, publicly with my audience. And maybe I shouldn't have thought about it, because then it's like I manifested it, where people were, just asking questions or whatever. And I remember thinking to myself, like, wow, this was a challenge in the fact that I didn't realize how quickly someone could say something and then everyone believed it to be 100% true in fact without actually knowing what is true in fact. And then people making assumptions, people not even reaching out and asking me questions, and people just going down a tangent. And so I realized, wow, like, I learned who my friends were. And so I was really grateful, because I used to give a lot of energy to everyone. And I still want to, like, serve humanity in the world, but my quality time is with a lot less people now. And I was shocked at some of the people what people were saying about me, what they were posting, without even actually coming to me and just saying, hey, whether this is true or not, or I'm disappointed or not, or anything, like, I just wanted to check in and see how you're doing. Like, I didn't get that from very many people. You were one of the few people I got that from. And I remember some people that I was very close with for years, people that I'd had on my show, people that I'd promoted on my stages, people that I'd served tons of time and just to give to them without expecting anything in return. Some of your close friends. And I was just like, okay, this shows me who people are. And so I was very grateful that I was like, now I don't have to give my time and energy to those people the way I have in the past. So thank you. I also remember thinking, like, at the same time, for whatever reason, I was like, okay, now I have 6 years of interviewing and these tools that I can put into practice. And I can actually try under some type of a challenge or adversity. And so how am I going to show up? This is like a game time moment. And I wasn't hurt necessarily by the act of what happened, I was more hurt by how people responded to it, because I kind of expected the act to happen because that person said they were going to do these things, no matter what I said to her and how I apologized and what was true and what wasn't true. And so her doing that was like, okay, yeah, I understand that's going to happen. But the fact that people responded was kind of a shock to me. And I remember there was one thing I did every single moment when I felt under pressure or under attack. I just said, I'm going to have hindsight now. I'm not going to have hindsight later. For whatever reason that kind of came to me, I was just like, you know what? A year from now, it's going to be New Year's Eve. My life is going to be completely different. I want to have some incredible people in my life. I'm going to know who my best friends are. My business is going to be growing. And this is all going to be behind me. And I remember just saying that over and over again. I'm going to have hindsight now. This is happening for me. This is going to give me tools. This is going to help me shed my ego more. This is going to help me purge relationships that are taking all my time. This is happening for me. It's a powerful example of how it's going to help catapult me to serving more people. And I was like, one day, this is all going to make sense as well, where something's going to happen in the world where people are going to need to come to me, and I wouldn't have been prepared for it without this type of challenge or experience. And now I'm going through the experience I need. And so this reminder of just going through that over and over again really helped me in a huge way. And having these core people in my life that were just supporting me was like, wow. So that was really powerful. And to meet someone also unexpectedly, where I was like, I'm going to be single for years. We had talked about this years ago when you knew I was going through challenges in my relationship. I was like, I think I just need to be single. I just need to do this, work on my vision. And I was just like, I'm going to be single for a year. I'm just going to have fun, relax. And then I met someone where I didn't want to meet. And I was like, wow, this is actually like the dream relationship that I want to be in. And making that decision to be with someone and putting my energy into building a powerful, loving relationship was a great use of my time as well. So there were so many magical things that happened from a moment of adversity that I'm just appreciative and grateful for. And I wouldn't change a thing, because it gave me so much more humility. It gave me so much more compassion. It gave me so much more a deepness of love. And it showed me who my real friends are.
Hindsight now.
Hindsight now. I think anytime you go through an adversity, it's really hard to look into the future. But I just kept saying, it's a year out. I'm having hindsight now. What are all the things that happened for me that made me better a year later? So if you can put yourself into the future and realize, it's not going to affect you as bad as you think, and you just need to go through this tough, challenging moment, and think of all the benefits that are going to come to you. That's what got me through a lot of that stress.
That's pretty powerful, because as a person that suffers from anxiety, you're kind of taught to anxiety is like stress about the future, right?
Mm-hmm.
And fear about the future. But this is like flipping it on its head. It's saying, listen, this is a stress now, and in the future it's going to be fine. What's really interesting is, if you look at the tabloids, if you look at every celebrity, I would say, unless it had to do with sexual abuse or rape or something like that, every celebrity that's had some sort of challenges, being arrested, even these people that got their kids into college.
Yeah, exactly. The divorces, breakups, this and that, scandals.
Yeah. In a year, people are playing their music again, or seeing their movies, or back to being their crushes. And this is nothing like what you have been through in that situation. But I just remember maybe the first time I posted a naked coffee photo, and people were like, I'm unfollowing you. And my friend,
6 months later, they're following you back again.
Well, that's the thing. I have a really good friend, and people were commenting these things, and in the comments she said, I don't know how many people she wrote this on, but she said, you'll be back.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny. It's funny. I mean, I saw a lot of hateful comments, thousands of hateful comments for weeks and weeks. And I was just like, what is going on with people who have no clue actually what happened? and just whatever, spreading whatever they think happened. And I remember, and by no means did I ever say that on my podcast I'm perfect and that I never make mistakes. All I do is talk about all the mistakes I make and how I can become better. It's called like I'm learning, I'm growing, and I'm bringing people on to help me.
Yeah.
And I remember some woman said a lot of nasty stuff, but one woman said something nasty. And then I remember a year later her emailing me and saying, "You're amazing, Lewis. I want to interview you for my podcast." And I was just like, no, thank you. I hope you have a good day. But it's just like, don't come back to me. And then there's so many people starting to come back to me now. Lewis, can I get on your show? I have a book coming out. Lewis, can you help me here? And I'm just like, where were you?
I've read every single one of those comments.
Everything.
And what I found to be, I will say in my conversations I had with Scott, and I think Sam, because he loves you.
Yeah.
And there was no negative talk about, your ex or anything. Cause I really like her too. So
yeah, I wish the best for
her. Yeah. But I remember saying to them when all this went down, I was like, no one knows the entire story.
No one knows.
So how in the hell are you making that comment? And I understand that people use social media to vent and post. And I'm like, okay, cool. You can use this to vent or post, and, even you can, have your way of dealing with it. But the comments less than, just be the best you can be. I hope you get through this tough time. Anything more than that, like, I'm disgusted with him. And there were people that wrote comments to you, and I'm like,
what is going on? Yeah.
Wait a minute. Not to relive the past, but I just remember
Sure.
saying to Scott and Sam, I was like, none of these people know the whole story. No, you have no idea what happens behind closed doors. But, and so I couldn't say that to the world, because I was just like, Shaun.
Yeah, because then you get hit on too.
I was like so close, Lewis, because I'm like such a ride or die.
It's all good, but yeah, I mean, my friends who I talked to throughout my entire relationship know the truth. The people that I talk to, the people that are, both of us went through challenges. Both of us had our mistakes, and both of us communicated to each other and talked about them. And I chose to not take things public about what she did or what she didn't do or what I did or not. She chose to only tell what she thinks I did, and I leave it at that. I wish her the best, and I focus on my vision. I focus on what's important to me. I focus on my health. I focus on service to humanity and lifting others up, and not trying to tear others down. And that's just my mission: is to not come from a place of anger and tear people down. It's to lift others up. It's to say, acknowledge what I have gone through and keep working and growing and be humble about it, and then be back to service, serve. And that's just my mission. So
everything we've kind of spoken about from the beginning of this is people kind of expressing their emotion, whether it's, Black Lives Matter, to me being able to, as a man, say thank you. Like, I was in a place where I've needed your help in saying I have to express this emotion of thanks, to what we just talked about, which is relationships are emotional and people respond in different ways. And I love how you say, someone could be however they want, but this is how I choose to respond to it. What do you say to people who are afraid to express their emotions, and what do you feel, what have you learned in the past of the best way to really navigate through really tough emotional times?
That's a loaded question for me, because at this stage of my life, I've learned how to express my emotions, and I would say a more healthy way for me. In different decades of my life, I expressed anger, resentment, and I expressed them in physical ways of punching walls or getting my aggression out physically on a basketball court or football field, and not being able to understand and express them internally in a healthier way. And so I think now I'm able to breathe and come back to a place of, suffering is the root of obsessive self-centric thinking. So when we're thinking of ourselves, of what we don't have, or what we're not getting, what people don't understand about me, what the world is against me, we're going to suffer. we're going to be ruminating in our thoughts and our emotions, and it's going to be heart palpitations, anger, frustration, and it's going to come out however it naturally comes out. So we will suffer if we focus on me all the time. That's just something I've learned from just years of practice of doing it the wrong way, or a way that doesn't work for me, I should say, of feeling hurt all the time, of feeling anger all the time, of feeling a lack of acceptance all the time, all these things that I felt my entire life. It came down to me focusing on me, as opposed to coming from a place of more peace and groundedness of, okay, you know what, this sucks. I don't like this. I need to get it out in the way that's healthy for me. But I've just realized that the energy and attention put towards anger is draining and exhausting. And it doesn't support a vision and the mission I have for my life to help more people. So that's just a choice I've started to make over the last few years is how can I be smarter with my emotion? Because I know it's going to drain me if I'm just angry and just, I don't like this and I don't like this and you're wrong. It's going to make me want to fall asleep because I'm going to be so tired. And I'm going to be tired the next day and the next day. Yeah. And it's going to have lasting effects emotionally. So for me, I've just learned healthier ways to express my emotion, to not suppress it, but to feel all the emotions and then let them pass. And let them pass so I can go back to a mission and back to serving my girlfriend, back to serving my family, back to serving my community, just because that's the mission I have. And I want to be an example of that. So I just think you got to learn what works for you. And then we all express our emotions differently. I like to write. I've got my journal right here. I write a lot of notes and thoughts. And that is one expression of showing my emotion by putting it down, get it out of my head and heart, put it down on paper. I like to talk to people, with you, like we started right away of addressing challenging topic. I like to go right into addressing it. And I feel like, I feel more peace as opposed to letting my emotions go to the wayside and not talking about it. I like to talk about things. So I express it verbally, but then I feel more peace after I'm done. And I'm also just, I think you speak to this so beautifully that when you move your body, your emotions come through you, whether it's dance or working out, you're able to express it and emote it through your physical nature. And when we don't move our bodies, that emotion gets more trapped inside of us. So if you can write every day, if you can speak every day, and you can move your body every day, then emotion should naturally flow through you and not be bottled up where you're so angry.
And always trust and believe.
Trust and believe. Trust and believe.
That's conquer your mind, transform your life. That's trust and believe.
Yeah, exactly.